Hey, welcome back to another episode of the MindShare podcast. This is season 7 kicking off right here. This is where we share strategies and insights to help you work smarter, build stronger relationships, and to create the success that you deserve. This show is proudly sponsored by Kids Keep in Touch Systems, your ultimate marketing lead generation CRM, as well as REM Real Estate Magazine, Canada's trusted source for real estate news and insights, and REVEL Realty. Redefining real estate with bold marketing, cutting-edge training, and a culture that empowers success. Learn more about our sponsors and download your free copy of the Ultimate Marketing Bundle at mindshare101.com. And hey, while you're there, discover how our full range of services can help you take your business to the next level. From one-to-one coaching to personalized MindShare collective group coaching for community-driven success, momentum training to build unstoppable progress, and keynote speaking to inspire and motivate your team. We are here to elevate your game. And while you're at it, learn more about joining the revolution to experience the bold new way real estate is being redefined. Today's episode is number 317, and we're diving into hardcore strategies for crushing 2025 to help you get your mind right, take massive action, and dominate the year. He's a successful entrepreneur and motivator, famous for his no-nonsense approach to business and personal development. He is the CEO and founder of multiple well-known successful startup businesses. He is also a best-selling author and popular public speaker known for his straight talk and candid advice on achieving success in both business and life. And he's passionate about helping others reach their full potential and overcome obstacles to achieve their goals. He is also an avid philanthropist, donating his time and a massive amount of resources to various charitable causes. Joining me on this episode of the MindShare podcast is special guest, CEO and founder, the hardcore closer, Mr. Ryan Stewman. Ryan, welcome to the MindShare podcast.
Man, I'm excited to be here. That's dude, I do a lot of podcasts. You've got a real well put together operation here. I like it. The intro, the sponsors, man, you're in the flow. I dig it.
Appreciate you, brother. Listen, I appreciate that, man. That means a lot. And I'll tell you, 317 episodes deep, and we're still learning. You know what I mean? Yeah. I had a buddy of mine 7 years ago who came to me. He says to me, he's actually down in the States in Utah, and he says, man, we're doing something big, and I want you to be part of it. And I'm like, all right, what's up? And he, fast forward, long story short, he's like, you got to start a podcast. I'm like, oh, I don't know what to do. He's like, yeah, well, and here's the kicker. Like, I need you to have 3 episodes the next week. I'm like, yeah, I could do that, but fuck, I don't know what to do. And to get offline, and next thing you know, here we are 7 years later, 317 episodes deep. So somehow we figured something out, but we're still learning, man. It's life, right? But I appreciate the kind words, man.
It's, in my opinion, it's the best way to meet people. At the end of this, we'll feel like we know each other and like make new friends. And this is therapy for men. It really is,
Dude, it's, I'll tell you, I say that to people all the time, is I have been so fortunate for the people that I get to have on the show. And I thank you for making the time today, to be able to interview people, to be able to learn from people, and to be able to, and I know you know this, but to hear the stories that you hear from highly successful people, and even people trying to get to that level of whatever success means to them, to be able to hear what they are doing and go, we're all walking a similar journey, right? We might have a different story, but the journey is really the same. Like we're trying to achieve something, and when you have enough conversations, you start to go, man, you got to roll up your sleeves and get dirty. You got to do the work. It doesn't just come.
Yeah.
So that's what we're trying to do, man. We're trying to do that. But, dude, it's great having you here. Again, I appreciate the kind words. I will tell you, I think we stumbled over a little bit of that intro today because we did adjust that for season 7 as we just kicked it off. It'll start to roll a little bit better next time. But no fluff here. Like you're CEO and founder. You got several different, successful businesses. You and I had met originally through our buddy Steve Sims back in Dallas. I think it was like last year, February or March, something like that. Give us the raw version, though, for a minute, just for anybody who's maybe not familiar, who is but doesn't know, the raw version of like, how did you get to where you are today without getting too fluffy and, boring?
Sheer fucking determination. That's how I got where I'm at today. There's a really famous quote from Henry Ford. It says, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. The first time I heard that, I was like, well, if I'll buy into that, You know, sometimes in life you just buy into certain things. Like if I buy into that, then I'll make it right. And you might sit here and say, oh, he's, you know, an American and from Texas, probably grew up rich or whatever the case may be. I was adopted at age 8, running the streets homeless by the time I was 13, selling drugs, doing drugs by the time I was 13. I never went back home. I went to prison by the time I was 19. Did 3 years in and out of 8 different maximum security prisons. I was on a nice little transfer tour, federal and state, guns, drugs, you name it, involved in it. And here's the crazy thing. I get out of prison and I get my life together. I find God. I find a good pastor. I find a good mentor. I worked really hard at a car wash and I got recruited into a job in finance. And now I'm 2-3 years later, I'm a millionaire and my house got raided. And they found a gun in my home, and there's a weird snafu in the federal and state law. Long story short, state law says I can have a gun. Federal law says I can't have a gun because I'm a convicted felon. I got to go back to federal prison for 15 months. And I walk into prison a millionaire and I walk out poor. I have nothing. I've lost it all. There's no control in there. And it was at that point where while I was in prison, I'd been reading these books, and I read a book, Think and Grow Rich, and it mentioned whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're correct. And I'm like, I think I could do it again, despite having another felony, despite having to start all over. And I look up, and within about a year and a half, I'm a millionaire again, right? Doing it both times legally, even though I had this setback. 2010 rolls around, America makes this CPFB thing, and it's the Dodd-Frank Act, and it says a felon can no longer have a financial license. So I got to start all over again because of something I did at 19 years old, which I deserved. I'm having to deal with this for about a 13-year period of time. And again, I got to start all over. But that thought, hey, whether you believe you can, hey, do I think I've done it twice? Now I'm pretty comfortable that I can do it again. You know what I mean? And what's crazy, and maybe some of you get lucky, but as an entrepreneur, we're going to have to start over and reinvent ourselves multiple times in our lives. We can't control the economy. We can't control the prices of houses. We can't control the cost of borrowing for a mortgage. We can't control bank guidelines. Any of those things can have a catastrophic effect on our industry. But when that happens, it's as simple as, do we think we can make it through this? Do we think we can reinvent ourselves and outsmart this problem that's our way? Or are we going to become a victim to it and end up spending the rest of our life being what I call a used to motherfucker, talking about, I used to be in real estate, made a lot of money till the crash. I used to have all these cool things and a great life. Oh man, 1999, that year was the shit. Like, bro, it's 2025. Like, who wants to talk about what they used to do? I don't want to talk about what I used to do or what I'm going to do. I want to be an example of what's done and is getting done now, you know?
Yeah, I love that, man. And like going through the struggles that you went through in and out and in and out, you know, you look at that wake up call, like toughest lesson there was what when you go through all that stuff?
Nobody really gives a shit about us. They might, like, you go to prison and you might be like, I was married and my wife, someone that was in love with, had been with for years, she gave a shit for about 2 months. You know, my friends, I didn't get a letter from 99% of them. None of the business associates I did. And you got to remember, I'm in prison the second time for some shit I didn't do. It's like, damn, he got fucked up. I had one friend that showed up one time in the 15 months that I was in federal prison. And I wasn't but 30 minutes up the road. You know what I mean? So I realized, like, people, and I didn't expect them to show up or write letters for me. People are consumed in their thing, but it was a good lesson in, hey, you know what? People are consumed in their own life. They really don't care if you come or go. You might think you're the main character and important, but let them remove you from, hey, go log off of your Facebook for about 3 weeks and see if people forget that you even exist.
You know, it was years ago, met my wife, my girlfriend at the time, and I started working with her uncle, who I became very, 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 very tight with. And, you know, he was building custom houses. When I walked in, you know, kind of young punk, I got this, you know, fast car. And, you know, here he sees this, like, you know, this little girl that is his niece, who I'm starting to date. And he's looking at me going, who's this guy? But we became tight, and I started to get real close with him. And he asked me one day, he says, you know, how many friends you got? I go, oh, man, I know all sorts of people. I got tons of friends. Like, I got a massive network. He goes, yeah, eh? He goes, you think those are your friends? I was like, well, yeah, like I know all these people. He's like, oh, really? How many people in your phone book? And I started to open up. He goes, I don't give a shit how many people in your phone book. And I sort of looked at him like, what? He goes, you will be lucky if you walk out of life with as many friends that you can count on one hand. And it puts that whole idea of the word friends in real perspective into what you're saying there. It's like, how many people actually reach out? Or if I stop being on Facebook, would Facebook just stop? And would people start going, Dave, where are you? Nah, man, the world will keep moving.
Not for long. You know what I mean?
But it's a great message, though, that you just brought up, right? Like, you got to do it for you.
You do, you know? And here's the thing is entrepreneurs, business owners, leaders, whatever we want to call ourselves, most of us have children. So, you know, we think we're doing things for our customers and our employees and stuff. And they should be doing it for the same reasons too. Their legacy, their children, what they've got to leave down. You know, I want to be the guy that, you know, I wasn't set up. I was set up for failure, obviously, by my parents. I don't think they intentionally did that. There wasn't the resources available now. But I'm going to set my kids up for success as much as I can, you know, and teach them how to set their kids up for success so that our DNA and our genetics and our legacy grows forever and hopefully compounds, as opposed to what happens with most families is it starts to divide after a few generations. I would like for our stuff to continue to grow. That's why I buy the things that we buy now, like ranches and things like that, you know, that will matter no matter what time period we're in.
You are you watching that show Landman?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Are you up to speed with it right now?
What's that?
Are you up to speed with it?
Yes.
Like, okay.
Yeah.
You saw that scene with Jerry Jones?
Yep. Absolutely.
That was a good scene, man.
That's a great scene.
That was a great scene right there.
Actually, one of my buddies just sent me, funny story, my buddy just sent me an audio recording of that today. And I said, man, I watched that Sunday and made a post on Facebook about it. And I just
posted it. Yeah, I posted on my story yesterday.
He's like, hey, man, I'm heading to Vegas this day. Are you going? I was like, yeah, can I hitchhike a ride on your jet? Like, he said yes, though. So I'm in. I'm good, you know, so.
So, dude, you know, we know this, right? We talk about we got to do it for us, but, you know, and you just brought up how'd you say that? Like used to be, right? Like,
Yeah,
like back then it was. One thing we know is people love to make excuses. What is the most common bullshit excuse? Because you talk to a lot of people, you help a lot of people. What's the most common bullshit excuse that you hear? How do you call it out, and what do you say to people when you hear it?
You know, first of all, about me, I have FYE tattooed on my hand right here, which stands for fuck your excuses, right? That's how serious we are about that here, you know? And I have probably 100 of my people that have that tattooed on their necks or their hands or whatever. Like that's us. That's the life that we live. But, you know, I used to, let's say I'm talking to you and you're giving me a bunch of excuses. I used to call everybody out, but some people I realized calling them out ain't going to change them. So you just let them be a victim to their excuses. It sucks, but some people just ain't going to change. But if a guy like you was giving me excuses, I would just simply ask you a question like, Dave, is that really who you are? All that shit you just told me, is that how you really feel about yourself and who you are? No, it isn't. So let's just drop that shit. Remember who you are. But people use like, I should have every excuse in the book. I'm a 2-time felon, been divorced, adopted, every excuse to be a failure. Yeah. But here's the thing, like people can find an excuse or a reason. And we have this core value. Our number one core value in all of my companies is responsibility. And responsibility, it means we make no excuses. So everybody here knows that word and what it means according to our culture. And I believe it works like this. If I take responsibility, if I mess up and you say, Stewman, you messed up, and I say, man, I'm sorry. It feels horrible because I messed up and I had to admit that I messed up. But that pain, that feeling helps us get better and learn from that mistake. If you come to me and you say, Stewman, I messed up, and I'm like, no, it was John. John did that stuff. I don't get the lesson or the feeling. And then when you go to John, if he takes responsibility for it, he's going to get that lesson and feeling. So when we're making excuses, we're actually denying wisdom. When we're making excuses, we're actually denying responsibility. And people don't understand, if you're going to get better with money, you better be better at being responsible for it. If you're going to get better at raising kids, you better get better at getting responsible for them. The more responsible you become for things in your life, the less excuses exist anyway, because responsibility and excuses are antonyms in my book.
Dude, I love that, man. It's funny. I kind of follow a similar suit. And to me, it's like, you know, your your reasons just sound like bullshit excuses. There's a lot of people that give you, well, here's why it happened, right? But really, I'm hearing an excuse. How
Yeah.
about own it? How about figure out what you can do to change it? Right?
Well, in 2011, I started coaching loan officers. I had phased out of like I said, I lost my ability to work in the finance world. And so I started coaching people because I was very successful at it, obviously, multiple times.
Yeah.
And I would get on sales calls with people. And mind you, it's 2000, we'll say it's 2012 at this point, and the market crashed in 2008. There would be people mind you, during this time period, I hadn't been to prison, come out, got a job, lost a job, and built a business, right? And there would be people going, man, these guys have a job with a company in a corporate setting, and they'd be like, man, since 2008, things just ain't been the same. I lost it all, and I ain't been able to get it back. Like, I used to tell them, like, bitch, I went to prison, been divorced, built a fucking business in 4 years, and you're over here still worrying about some anomaly stock market crash that's over and done. Like, Jesus Christ.
Move on, man. Move on.
But imagine me saying, back then nobody knew who I was, but imagine some dude saying that to you, like, oh, I got to get my shit together. That guy's got a fucking point.
Well, but hey, listen, I'll tell you, that's exactly what we're trying to do here. For everybody tuned in that might have just tuned in right now, we are talking with Ryan Stewman. We're talking about hardcore strategy for crushing 2025. No bullshit, as you can tell. Now, right, how as we talk about that and we say, okay, fuck your excuses. We talk about mental toughness. How do people build that mental toughness? Like, especially when everything seems to be going wrong. The guy that tells you in 2008 or whatever, or the person that tells me, during COVID, I lost my business. And you sit there going, but fuck, it's 2025. Like, we're 4 or 5 years removed from that right now. What have you been doing since then? You just lamenting? How do people actually build up or maybe rebuild that toughness? Like, you did that, obviously. You go through some like life-changing stuff, in, out, back in, still come back out, find success again. Like, there's a lot of people that would just go, that's it, I'm done. I can't do it.
Isn't that what society wants us to do, though? Isn't that what the devil or the force of average or mediocrity or the government, whatever you want to call that thing, isn't that what it wants me to do? Quit? Why would I want to make that thing happy? Why would I want to let that win? Oh, you think you can beat me? I'm willing to go toe to toe with you for my entire life, motherfucker. My entire life. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to let it beat me. So many people, they go, man, it just not be in the car. I watched my grandfather. Okay. In the 1970s and 80s, I had two grandfathers. Okay. Grandfather on my mom's side, grandfather on my father's side, like everybody else. Grandfather on my father's side was an entrepreneur. Grandfather on my mother's side was a banker. So the entrepreneur borrows money from the banker, the small town, their kids get married, all this stuff, right? In the 1980s, the savings and loans crashed. Most of the banks in America were wiped out, much like 2008 when we saw that happen, right? My grandfather's 5 small branches of banks that he owned, they all went out of business, lost people's money. It was a terrible time in America, period, right? My grandfather used the GI Bill to go back to college because he had served in the Navy in Vietnam, and then he became a teacher. So this guy went from driving a car every week to the one time he got taxed, giving up and becoming a teacher for $40,000 a year, living in a trailer home. This guy went from a mansion and horses and all this stuff. And I'm like, why? I asked him, why you never try to get back? Oh man, that just wasn't for me. And I'm like, I'm never going to fucking let that happen to me. I'm never going to if I go from a mansion to a trailer house, cool, but I'm going back to the fucking mansion.
Yeah.
I'm not going to, that's not my final destination. And man, I had this really rough time in 2017. Yeah. And I was making adjustments, scaling. People like, dude, it was a coming up time for me, and I wasn't mentally ready for a lot of the shit that I had to go through. And one night I'm with my guy that I just asked to hitchhike on his jet. I'm going to a Joe Rogan stand-up comedy with him.
Oh, nice.
And we got,
that's going to be good.
Yeah, we got, this story's about to fuck you up, bro. Like we're on the front row of the Joe Rogan comedy thing. This is 2017. Okay.
Okay. That was back then. Yeah.
So my friend, he's a black guy, and he's like, hey man, if you got an extra ticket, like leave your wife at home. I met this. He goes, there was one other black guy running this marathon that I ran up in Massachusetts, and dude, he's badass. He used to be a Navy SEAL. You're going to love him. So dude, I'm telling you, leave Amy at home. And I wouldn't tell you that if it wasn't important. And let's let this guy have her ticket because the thing was sold out. So I'm like, all right, man, my wife's going to be pissed. I'm going to trust you on this. So we go pick this dude up from, me and my buddy. We go in an Uber because we know we're going to get drunk. We go stop to pick the other guy that was running the marathon up. Nobody knows who this person is, but his name's David Goggins. But
I was about to say to you, is it David Goggins? I'm like, I'm going to wait for him to drop this right now.
At this point, David doesn't have an Instagram yet. I talked David into Instagram, writing books, showed him that stuff. We ended up working together for a year. Now, I tell you that because David taught me. At that time, I was going through some mental toughness withdrawals. I didn't have it. I felt like a victim. And why is this happening? Why can't I get these? That's
where I'm going right there, right? Because it's normal. It's human nature.
It is. And so after meeting David, I called him 2 days later. I was like, bro, call me and yell at me once a week. How much money you want to do that? Right. And he's like, wait, you'll pay me to yell? I was like, dude, I need to ask you questions. And I need you to be real with me. You're the only dude I know that's alpha enough to be that guy in my ear. And you'd be like, yes, sir. Right. He goes, fuck it. All right, I'll take your money. So we worked together for a year. He taught me this principle early on. I was having a bad day. The employees aren't doing their thing. I'm leaving. He's like, bro, what are some of the cool things that you've done in your life that you thought were impossible? You survived prison. He's like, remember that. You've overcome and become a millionaire after divorce. You've had all these setbacks. And he goes through all these things. He's like, you throw huge events with thousands of people. You've become a multimillionaire. You own, 8 figures in real estate, all this. He's like, every time that you start to doubt yourself, reach back into your mind and remember all the shit that you've accomplished. We've all done amazing stuff that's impossible, whether it's a personal best in the gym or an amazing income, or you're a great father or mother, or you're a good friend, or you climbed a mountain, won a marathon. There's all something that we set our mind to that we've done. But then when we go through hard times, we don't remember the mindset we had that we put in play to make those things happen. And we think we're incapable of achieving the very things that we know for a fact, if we remember ourselves, we know for a fact that we can overcome. David calls it the cookie jar. He's like, write down your accomplishments on a piece of paper, stuff them in the cookie jar. Anytime you're having a bad day, you doubt yourself, reach in the cookie jar, pull it out, remind yourself the motherfucker you really are.
So is that the bounce back though? Is that like when you're getting into that negative place, when you hit that rock bottom, it's like to scrape yourself off the floor? Is it just, hey, write some shit down and actually remind yourself of what you've done?
I think that's more of a mental thing. Like, okay. Maybe for me, it was more metaphorical, not necessarily write it down and pull it out of a jar. Yep. But like, sit back, someone accuses you of being a liar. Let's say, sit back and go, if you're not a liar, right? It's like, dude, I have told the truth when it was inconvenient to me, right? Here's time A when I did that, right? Reminding yourself of who you are, because a lot of people will let other folks' words affect their true character and their reflection of who they really are. You know what I mean? Like, you can say all sorts of shit about me. If I know it's not true, it doesn't affect me. You know what I mean? You can say Stewman's a cheater and a liar and a drug addict. Like those, I'm not those things. So you can say that all day long and it doesn't affect me. Right. And so, we just have, so again, I think it's one of those things like subconsciously reach in that cookie jar and remind yourself of who you are. But I have I like sayings. I like little verses that motivate me, little word tracks that really drive my life. And another one I heard Brian Tracy say a long time ago when I was at one of his seminars in finance. And he said, you have to act your way into a feeling because you'll never feel your way into action. So if you're on the floor, if your ass is getting handled, you can't sit around and wait for things to get better. And for you to feel, if you're depressed, you can't wait to feel good, to go to the gym and to eat right and to work and to make the cold calls and to make the sales and the things that we have to do. No, you have to do those things. And then when you do those things, the results of those things start to feel good and make you get the feelings that you want. But so many people want to feel, then take action. But the way to get feelings is to take action and produce feelings. And if you'll shift your mindset around, hey, I don't want to do this, but if I do it, I'm going to feel so good after, versus waiting till I feel good to do it, you will stop procrastinating and you will start achieving the results that you want, because you understand if it's meant to be, it's up to me. I have to act my way into a feeling, because I will never feel my way into action, because you won't. If I waited till I felt great to go to the gym, I'd never go to the gym. But I go to the gym feeling like shit in the morning. And then when I'm done with the gym, I feel great. I've acted myself into a feeling, you know?
Gym always does that, doesn't it?
Yep.
It's always like that. Like, oh man, I got to go to the gym. Then you go to the gym, you're like, I feel amazing.
99% of people's problems could be solved by 30 minutes to an hour in a day, 5 days a week in the gym.
Dude, I do it every day. And while I'm doing it, I'm feeding my brain. I've got my book in my ear while I'm working out. It's the best feeling in the world. And as we look back on the day and think to ourselves, shit, man, did I get as many calls done? Did I get as much deals done? The reality is if you're not taking care of yourself, your physical self and your emotional, mental self, you ain't got no self to really go out and do the rest of the things you need to do. And it's like, as you're saying all these things, you know, it brings up a line that I share a lot of times is confidence breeds success and success breeds confidence. And it's that same thing of like when you're down, you just got to start doing so you can get up and get to where you want to go. Yep. You know, and that's a big part of it, right? Like it comes back to a mental thing. I mean, there's another exercise that we do is, you know, and I believe that like the pen, the power of this thing is huge because what it does is it brings what's up here in the subconscious. It brings it to life. It makes it conscious. You start to put words on paper. And I mean, an exercise here is like, write down what your beliefs are. What do you believe about life? What do you believe about money? What do you believe about work? Write them down. And then as you start to see these beliefs that you've got, and there's probably a lot of negative connotations to that stuff, it's let's switch those beliefs, turn them into new beliefs, and start to take it and flip the script on it and go, where can I bring out the positive and all that stuff and change my mindset so that there is something of strength? And I mean, the power of the pen to me is absolutely huge.
Hey, my whole life, I have it right here next to me. You can see
that's what I'm saying,
my
man.
whole life since 2003 is in spirals stored in my office, like in little filing cabinets. I use these. Then when I get through it, wad it up. My whole life, one day, somebody's going to be able to go through these. And like, if the FBI ever wants to know where I am, they can go through my Google Calendar because all my appointments are on there. If they want to know what happened on those appointments, these spirals coexist next to them. So,
dude, listen, we talk about ink. We both enjoy our ink so much that, you know, we get it permanently put on.
That's right.
But it truly takes the subconscious, it makes it conscious. And then it brings shit to life. And for me, that's where I find a sense of elevation that creates the momentum and then therefore the success. Right. Yeah. Now, another thing that I do, I want to ask you about that when, you know, again, we're sitting here at top of the year right now. We both know that most people, 80% of people will fall off their goals by February. I think the number's like just over 40% midway through January.
Forget about was Quitter's Day.
What's that?
January 19th is Quitter's Day.
That's the one, man. And I got to tell you, last year at this time, I sat there pulling into the parking lot at the gym going, okay, I can't wait for all these people to give up. And around that time, they all give up. And this year, for some reason, most people have already given up because the parking lot's a lot more empty than it used to be, which I got no problem with because finding a machine is a lot easier.
Yeah, my gym's not packed. No, there's no new people that I've noticed this year.
This year, there's not. And that's why I said that to my wife, to Jen, this morning. She goes like, you know, first thing in the morning. I try to go in the afternoon when it's a little quieter. She's like, it's quiet.
Yeah.
I said, I don't know if it's an economy thing. People just can't afford to be there or I don't know. I don't know what it is, but
I pay $50 a month for my gym. So I think everybody can afford that.
Well, see, right. So people should be in there. But, you know, when it comes to not just the physical self, but even the mental self, you know, are you, I imagine you are, but a goal setter?
Not really.
Okay.
In the traditional sense. So I believe goals they're important. I mean, you got to have like an end game or whatever, but I'm at this point in my life, I don't want to sound like I'm trying to brag or whatever, but maybe I had let's say it this way. Maybe my expectations weren't that high for my life, considering where I came from. Okay. And so most of the shit that I thought was going to be impossible, I've done. And by most of it, like all of it, there's really nothing left on my bucket list. Maybe traveling to a few spots or something menial like that at this point. But and so I say that so the goal and money, I have money, and I'm not saying you can always have more. So like if you want to donate to whatever, I'll take it. But I'm taken care of. My kids are taken care of. Things are working smooth. So I can't set typical, and I'm in good shape already. So I can't set these typical goals like I need to lose 10 pounds. I need to make $1 million, whatever the case may be, right? Instead, I'm mission driven. And I believe, and this doesn't work in the beginning, guys, right? So there's levels to this stuff. And I'm not I'm not trying to say I'm better than you. So I don't want you to take it that way. I'm just telling you from experience that in the beginning, you need a vision board with a jet and a nice car and a watch or whatever floats your boat. And those are the driving factors. And at some point, you're going to get those things if you work hard enough for them. And then you're going to realize that Lamborghinis are inconvenient. The more money you spend on clothes, the worse they fit and look in reality. A lot of the things we think once we experience them, like I've had over 20 exotic cars. At this point, they're really not that much different than driving an F-150 for me, because it's just a car, because I've had them for so long, right? And so most of them just sit in my garage anyway. I don't even drive them. And I say this because I am a mission-driven person, but in the beginning, you've got to have goals. But then when you knock the goals off and let's say you get 45, 50 years old and you start making real money and you live in your dream house and you drive your dream car and you can go on vacation or do what you want with your family when you want, then goals shouldn't really be the thing. It should be like, what's my life mission? And for me, I have a really simple yet huge mission that will never be accomplished, but I'm living it until the day I die. And that's my job, is to help as many people as possible become the greatest version of themselves. Now, what that doesn't include saying, like my mission is so big that when people slide in my DMs, a lot of times guys in my position, people are like, dude, I have zero money. They're like, hit me back when you got money, broke ass person. And I used to be that way a long time ago before I had this mission. When I was goal oriented, that's how I was too. Now it's like, I got an opportunity to help people. And I know that if I just help enough people at this point, my life's going to be taken care of in one form or another. Money comes in the weirdest way. Sometimes we think our main business is going to be the thing that makes us a whole bunch of money. And then we stumble onto some real estate deal that makes us life-changing money that we get in on. We never know where it's really going to come from. So my goal is like, man, I've had such a rough life and had so many terrible things done to me that if I can just stop that from happening to somebody, whether it's in their business or in their personal life or in their finances or whatever. So, I'm not really goals. It's like I wake up every day and it's like, how many lives can I change? And I go to sleep at the end of the night. It's like, did I? And I don't, look, I'm human. I fail some days, right? But did I play all in today and do what was possible to make my mission a reality? 9 days out of 10, I feel like I play all the way in.
Dude, look, we say consistency is king, right? And it's like getting up, showing up every single day, doing the things that you got to do. And we already said this, like, even when you don't feel like it, that's the driving force, right? So I understand when you say about the mission and just getting up and going, okay, how can I help more people?
Yeah.
I got to say, I very similarly wake up with the very same mission on a daily basis of going, we have found a channel, a way, a method, a communication strategy in the way we can connect with others to say, hey, we can help you. And it's really not about the fact that we say we can help you. It's more about getting the opportunity to do that with people and being able to help and then watching how the help actually helped. You know what I mean? And like that for me is a driving force.
Yeah.
That is a cool thing. And although, yes, we do attach dollars to that, it's not about the dollars attached to it. There's something so much more deeper rooted about being able to help others. And you realize it when you do it. And I know this, there's a lot of people that roll their eyes at this type of stuff and call woo-woo and all this fluffy shit like that. Oh, that's bullshit. But I truly believe it. You help other people, whether in some way, shape, or form, you will be helped.
Whether you think you can or you think you can't. So if it's hokey bullshit and I believe it and it still fucking works, fuck, I don't need you to explain to me how it works. The fact that I'm reaping the benefits from it's all that matters. Right?
That's it, eh? So what would you say then, as we talk about showing up, right? What would you say is the one thing that truly separates the winners from the losers in business and in life? I mean, there's so many, everybody wants to achieve more. Most people we know ain't going to do jack shit to actually get it. They're just going to talk about it.
Most people, the world's just not designed for everyone to win. In any competition, the NFL in America right now,
that's a dose of reality right there, isn't it?
We're going into playoff seasons. There's going to be one winner out of, what is there, 36 teams in the NFL, but at the end of the year, there's only one winner. Yeah. So if we apply that metrics across the country, 1 out of every 36 people is going to be a winner. Let's just say, right? I'm just spitballing here.
Yep.
So you got to understand there's 37 people that lost for every person that wins. So what's going to separate you from those 37 people? What's going to make you the one person that wins? What if out of those 3,700, there are 37 people, they were all hungry. They were all working hard. And they all felt, what's going to be that separating thing? I think the separating factor in life, period, that allows us to become successful is the person that is tracking their improvement on a daily basis. Now, let me explain what I mean here. And when I was going through this in 2017, working with Goggins, going through some mental problems that I was having, I look back on my life and I'm like, listen, man, I've lived this life of highs and lows, man. You know, my grandparents were rich and then they lost everything. And then I ended up becoming adopted and then end up running the streets and then, you know, finally go to prison and then I get a job and change my life. Then I'm like this highs and ups and downs. And I'm like, man, how can I minimize the downs and maximize the highs? Right. And that's what we're all trying to do. But man, I'm telling you, night and day obsessed with this topic. Okay. And one day, just like life, it just hits me. Man, I'm driving down the street to my office, stuck in traffic, mad at the person in front of me, honking my horn. And here comes this thought. And this thought was like, this planet is, so I have this friend named Howard, and Howard is one of the most successful people in the world. You wouldn't know his name. He's one of those guys, but he is a lawyer, has an MBA in business from Wharton, a law degree from Harvard, and has been in the artificial intelligence business since 1993. So he is the leader of this. He leases his stuff to the government, super wealthy, super low key, good friend of mine, known him for about 11 years. I go into when he was, now it's different. Everything's in the cloud, but 11 years ago, artificial intelligence lived on servers, right? So you have these huge servers. I go into his like freezer room with, it's probably 20,000 square foot of just servers, right? For this artificial, they were doing stock trading back then, beating the algorithm in the stock trading before it was popular to do that with bots. Long story short, all these black servers and they have these blue blinking lights. And I'm like, hey, what does the blinking light mean versus the light that's on? He's like, that's whether it's working or not, like meaning the bot doing its job at that particular time. So there's all of these blue dots on these black servers. I'm driving and it just hits me. It's like, what if that's how artificial intelligence, what if that's how our world is? This outer space is black, the planet's blue. What if there's an algorithm, just like he hires people from NASA, literally rocket scientists, just like Howard's rocket scientists increase their artificial intelligence on these servers with an algorithm. What if there's a coded algorithm on this planet that's destined to keep us average? See, it works like this in America and really in the world. If you live below the average of the people around you, you can get Social Security, you can get benefits, disability, free Starbucks, food pantries, homeless shelters, low-income housing, Section 8 like all these things to try to help you become up into the average citizen. Then people go get a job. They get out of college, they're in debt. They get a job with benefits and insurance, and then they have a kid, and now they're stuck at that job. They can never chase greatness. They're trapped at average. But those few of us, the one out of every 38, we'll call it, that go on to truly try to achieve greatness are hit with everything to stop us. If you are below average, it's an easy lift to get you to average. If you're average, it's to keep you comfortable and trapped. If you're pushing towards greatness financially, you will have higher taxes, unexpected bills, people suing you, banks pulling your lines of credit, things changing that are out of your control. If you're chasing greatness, you're going to have unexpected taxes. You're going to have people come against you. And I'm like, man, what is that enemy that always seems to show up and try to push us back down to average? And it just, that day, man, it was like, that's the force of average. The algorithm on this planet is the force of average, and it's designed to keep us average. And if we're going to fight that force of average, we have to have some sort of superpower in us, or God wouldn't have created us, and there wouldn't be extraordinary men that exist without it. So what the hell is that superpower? So again, I'm in this rabbit hole. Like God wouldn't create us an enemy on this planet, the force of average, without giving us a weapon that can defeat that enemy. So how do we, playing this game like an arcade game, unlock that weapon? That weapon, ladies and gentlemen, is focus. I know I lost you there. You're like, focus.
No, I'm with you, man. And I knew that was coming back to somewhere right there.
But when you're in the zone, you are unstoppable. When you're like in the zone with cold calls or calling expireds, dude, everybody says yes to you when you're in the zone. When you're in the zone with creating art or content or videos or speaking on stage, when you're in the zone, dude, you can make anything happen. And when you're focused, you see the force of average tries to distract you. It says, here's higher taxes. That's a distraction. Hey, here's more options now that you're more successful. That's a distraction. Hey, here's a way to mess up your marriage with infidelity. Hey, here's a way to, maybe rip off somebody and make a quick come up. It's always trying to get you to take the bait of distraction, because when we're focused and we're dialed in, we win. Think about how important focus is in America alone. Since we are like 5 years old, teachers automatically, when you can't pay attention to their boring fucking class that they suck teaching at for $30,000 a year, they go, he doesn't pay attention in class. He has ADHD. Let's put him on medicine. So the one fucking superpower we have as human beings, these assholes that are teaching our kids and the doctors are medicating them, making our superpower weaker. And when we show up as adults at 25, 30 years old, we start speaking curses over ourselves, saying things like, well, I have ADD. I can't focus. I can't remember. And we're denying the one thing that God gave us that makes us able to achieve greatness in our life. So if you want to be the 1 out of 38, that's the key. You've got to understand the code to greatness is focus. So what do you stay focused on? 4 things every single day. I call it the G code, the code.
Do it, because I was going to ask you non-negotiables in your day. Tell us about that. Yeah.
Every day.
And I remember this back in Dallas too, when we were with Steve, and you mentioned about the G code.
Yep.
First, I know that's something you live by.
You got to have a grateful mindset. Gratitude is the precursor to abundance. If you're going to be an abundant thinker, like everything, you've got to have gratitude. The true balance in life, people say work-life balance, that's bullshit. The true balance in life we want is having gratitude for what we have right now while still in pursuit of everything left for us to get. It's not a work-life balance. It's a don't get too comfortable and stay hungry balance that we're fighting every single day. And that starts with gratitude. Gratitude for what we got while still blissfully ignorant of what's coming to us in the future. Second thing is your genetics. If you're gonna be the greatest version of yourself, you have to work on your body, diet, health, fitness, all that. Third thing is your goals, right? Your goals, if you want to make $1 million a year, here's what most people do and why most people don't make $1 million a year. And until I did this, I didn't make $1 million in a year either, but I've made millions years since the first year I started doing this. So, and this is a great time of the year for you guys to hear this, actually. Most people say, I want to make $1 million in 2025. They say it's $80,000 a month, if they even break it down to the month. What typically happens is somebody says, I want to make $1 million in 2025. And then come June, they're like, man, I've made 40 grand. Which ain't bad. You know what I'm saying? It's 11, 12,000, maybe $8,000 a month. It's not a horrible living, but it's not $1 million. Mm-hmm. But what they do is then on December 15th, they're like, oh man, I only made 250 grand this year. I'm 750 away. Man. So they only got to feel bad for a couple of days that they failed. But when you take that $1 million and you say, I want to work 6 days a week and make $1 million a year. Cool. That's $3,000 a day that you need to make every single day, 6 days a week. You go to sleep every night knowing whether you put $3,000 in your bank account or not, then you know whether you won or you lost. You know whether you are on track or you are off track. And when you have to face that anxiety every single day and not just for 1 or 2 days a year, the game changes. So you set goals daily. Everything is daily. Gratitude daily. Fitness daily. Your genetics daily. Your goals daily. And then last and most important, daily, the group of people you spend time with. Who did you invest your time in? People are our greatest resource. That's why companies like Facebook are some of the most valuable companies out there, because of the resource of people. So did I invest time into my wife today, into my kids, into my employees, into a client, into a friend? I look every day at the end of the day and I write a list of everybody that I came into contact with and that I poured into, because I've been tracking this on our daily G Code app since I created it. You guys are going to be blown away. You get a possible 4 points, right, every day. I joined 2001 days ago, according to my app. I have 6,889 points on this thing at 4 points a day. So maximum. So when I tell you this is something that I am disciplined, been locked in for 2001 days on, and did it on paper prior to having it in a digital side, like this has been a non-negotiable in my life. And if you will go back and look on my YouTube video, my Facebook post, you will see a greater version of me emerging over the years, getting better at speaking, better at communicating, better at managing my temper, better at being a dad, better at being a businessman, better at being a leader, because I focused on those daily improvements. So while most people, they hope they get a little bit better this year, I'm getting at least 1% better every day. So I'm getting 365% better every single year. At some point, nobody's going to be able to catch me, because if they're getting better 10% a year and I'm getting better 365%, it's only a decade or so before they're not going to be able to catch me.
Dude, it's funny you say all this, and I know I got so many people that listen to this going, Dave must have paid him to say this shit, because Dave's been preaching this stuff for God knows how long. Because with our coaching program, we've also got a daily tracker, like literally daily. We're going to take your goals, we're going to figure out what you want in life. We're going to break that down to an annual perspective, because we're going to recognize you're not going to get everything you want in life this year. You're not going to get everything you want this year in one day. So what do you got to do today? What are those actions you have to do today? And how are you going to map those out so you actually get them done, and then track that you actually did them? And if you do them, you're going to get to where you want to go. I mean, this is why most people never achieve the success they want. You nailed it. You get to December, you go, I've only done 250. I need to make another 750. Well, fuck it. It's over. Well, because you didn't track it enough. You didn't focus enough. To me, that's...
They at the end of the year, they go, oh man, but then in just a few more days, they get to go, okay, I'm going to do it this year. So they
new year, new me. I got this.
Even enough pain for them to feel like the loser that didn't accomplish their goals for me.
What did you call January 19th?
Quitter's Day.
Quitter's Day, right? Yeah. that's what happens.
Yeah.
Everybody's got that moment in the year where they think to themselves, I'm going to be. And I say that's most people.
Yep.
But at the same time, I know for me, I know for you, and I know probably for the people that we both get to work with, we are not most people. And that's a driving force for me. Like you talk about the words that speak to you. Those are some of the ones that speak to me. I am not most people.
Yep.
Okay, then don't fucking be most people. Because most people aren't going to do it. Most people are going to bitch about it. Most people are going to complain. Most people are going to give up. I don't want to be them.
Yep.
It's, buddy, look, you obviously with the businesses and with the life and the family and the personal side of things and everything else going on in your world, you juggle a lot. Like, how do you keep the days in order when it comes to that? Like, are you a scheduler? Do you actually break that stuff down and say, okay, I'm going to take what matters in business. I'm going to schedule that in. I'm going to take what matters in life. I'm going to schedule that in. And this way I can get these things done and we don't get sucked into the nonsense, because we talk about nonsense, and you and I both, we've got our presence online. We put the content out. We try to really, share a message that's going to help people. But I look at this thing as a big ass distraction device. Like, if we could find the plug and unplug these things and get rid of them and go back to the flip phone, I think we could all be better off because of, and I think we could all find more time in life to actually do the things we want, maybe accomplish the things we want.
It's like anything else. People abuse it. I wouldn't like to unplug my phone and never see it again. But when I go to my ranch in Oklahoma on the weekends, I don't look at the phone, but maybe 2 times a day. I got the phone on because I'm listening to music on my tractor or 4-wheeler or whatever the case I'm doing for the day. But, I have gotten my time down on the computer a lot, because thanks to a lot of things you can schedule out these days, so I can come in and, bang everything out. But,
for sure.
But yes, I'm a scheduler. I have lived. So when I got out of prison in 2008, out of federal prison, I had this feeling like, okay, I've been to prison twice. I don't know what gets you on a watch list, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to be on it for the rest of my life. So I'm like, I need an alibi, So I started tracking things in my Google Calendar back then, and I've still done every move of every day of my life is in my Google Calendar. And I feel like as an entrepreneur, I don't have a boss, right? I got a wife, so don't tell her that, because technically, but I don't really have a boss, right? And so there's nobody managing me, looking over my shoulder. And so many entrepreneurs, if they're not held accountable to something, they won't become productive, especially if they start making money. They'll get comfortable and eventually things will fall off. So for me, my boss is that calendar. I wake up every day. The calendar tells me what time to be at the office, what time to be on a Zoom, what time to make a call, what time to be in a meeting. That calendar, my kids, my 13 and 12-year-old go on my calendar and add stuff they need from me, football game. My wife, we do date night every Wednesday, so that's blocked off on my calendar. If my wife wants me to go to a movie this Saturday, she's not going to say, hey, honey, do you want to go to the movies? She's going to look at my calendar and put fucking movies in at the time the movie's on there, because she knows I'm going to wake up Saturday and go, oh, we're going to the movies today. That's awesome. Right. So I live and die by that calendar. My whole life, you can track everything I've ever done on that calendar. So
what do you say to anybody that says they're running out of time? Like I just don't have enough time. I can't get it done. It's just not possible. Or it's too much, or it's impossible to track time. Like I hear that from people all the time. Oh man, that's too much.
That's a lie from the force of average. So let me give you, and look, this is a 1 out of 38. We're going to keep saying that on this episode. This is a 1 out of 38 scenario, right? Elon Musk. I'm talking to my trainer this morning about him. Yesterday, Mark Zuckerberg comes out and he says, look, we're going to turn down the censorship on Facebook, blah, blah, blah. And if you paid attention to that video, we've known Mark Zuckerberg to be pale with alien looking eyes and super awkward. And this is such a cool story. I don't think people put this together. 4 years ago, Elon Musk told Mark Zuckerberg he was going to kick his ass. Mark Zuckerberg immediately started going to jiu-jitsu and took that shit serious.
I saw that.
4 years of jiu-jitsu. Mark was tan. He was pretty yoked up. He looked like a bro. He had a necklace on. His eyes looked normal again. He didn't look like the alien that we saw 3-4 years ago, right?
Yeah.
He's become a man. He's got his ass kicked on the mat a few times. That's what makes you a man, right? Like when you got kids and you smack them on their ass, they're like, oh shit, I'm gonna act right. When you're a grown man and you get slammed on the mat, oh shit, I'm gonna act right. This makes sense to me. He'd never had that before. We knew how he grew up.
Mm-hmm.
So I say this because the only reason he said that he was going to lower the stuff, people think, oh, it's because Trump won and America's healing. No, follow the money, ladies and gentlemen. Twitter was bought by Elon Musk because Elon didn't ever end up fighting in hand-to-hand combat with Mark Zuckerberg, but he figured he'd fight him by buying a social media channel. Now Twitter is more famous, or X is more famous than Facebook. It has more users. It has more activity. It's the #1 app on every platform, on every phone, in every country in the world right now, and has been since Elon bought it. It is unreal.
Such a machine, that guy, eh?
So, now, I tell you this because there's so many things that exist because of Elon that people don't realize. So you don't have time, okay? So you're saying, oh, I don't have time. Elon Musk worked at PayPal, sold PayPal, $180 million. He took $40 million of that, put it into SpaceX, put $100 million of it into Tesla, and the other $40 million into Solar City, right? So now he's got these 3 things that he's managing. He goes and he moves in with his parents, and most of the time, still today, sleeps in his office at Tesla. Now, why? Because this man has a mission that he's going to fucking Mars. And that mission he's going to do it in his lifetime, and he's willing to sleep on the floor. He's willing to sacrifice what kind of car does Elon have? A Ferrari? You don't know. When he sold PayPal, he bought a McLaren and then wrecked it 2 weeks later. But I would assume he rides around in a Tesla. Yes, he has a private jet, but he has to get places quick, right? So I'm telling you this because here's a man running the 3 most important companies in America right now: SpaceX, Tesla, and X, okay? The 3 most important companies in America right now. And he finds time to do that. But you're telling me you can't find time. No, you don't have a mission. The only reason that guy's doing that is because he has a mission. See, you're living a baseless bullshit life without any true mission. You're like, well, my mission's to make $1 million. Money is bullshit. That's not a motivating thing. What the fuck you going to do with that million? That's what matters. You're going to start a charity. You're going to build houses. You're going to buy your mama a house. You're going to make the world a better place. When you have a mission, then all of a sudden it's not, I don't have time. It's like, I don't need to sleep. I don't need to do this. I'm on a mission to make this thing happen. When I was first building my social media presence and the online stuff, I didn't need sleep, man. I had a mission. I got a message I want the world to hear. You're an Australian. You need me to wake up at 2 a.m. to be on your podcast? I'm there, dude. I want the world to hear this shit. I'm not going to go, well, I'm usually sleeping at 2 a.m. And no, like, do you really want it or do you don't? And I know what you're thinking. You're like, oh, but Elon, he has 9 kids. And he doesn't pay attention to them. Yes, he does. He's very active with his kids too. I'm active with my kids too. Why? Because my calendar manages my time. My calendar manages my time. None of us are doctors and heart surgeons. So if somebody needs to talk to us and I can't fit them in today because my calendar's packed, but they can get in tomorrow or the next day, they're not going to die. They're going to be fine. And if my kids have taken, hey, my soccer game's Thursday at 2, and you need Thursday at 2 to talk to me too, there's nothing that says I can't sit at the soccer game and watch and talk on the phone because I'm not playing soccer. You see what I'm saying? Like people just don't, they think, oh, well, I got to be present. Man, my kid's not paying attention to me anyways, running up and down the field paying attention.
So if I said to you, you know, we had to slap everybody in the head, slap them awake and get them moving right now, would that
Get
be
a fucking mission. Get a mission. Find some purpose to your life. Get a mission. And you know what people do is they say, the mission's there. You know what it is, but you've been denying it because you don't think you're brave enough, bold enough, and badass enough to do it. But God wouldn't give you a job that you couldn't accomplish or a thought that you couldn't make reality. It's your choice to be lazy or do it, and that's what matters. I'm sorry I get to yelling because I get all.
No, I fucking love it, bro. I love it, man. That's why we called it exactly that. A hardcore strategy for crushing 2025 with no bullshit. You know, because it's true, man. It's that's why I said off the top, right? Through reading. Like I'm on many of my own missions, but I'd say, you know, I've got a mission to read 2 books a month, right? That spends 30 minutes a day feeding my brain. We eat 3 times a day. Some people eat a hell of a lot more than that. How often are you feeding your brain? And I say to anybody who's actually listening to this show right now, you're feeding your brain right now. And I thank you for tuning in. I want you to come back and do it again. And that's why we continue to bring amazing guests like Ryan and everybody else here. But the reality, you know, not a but, it's like that said, the reality is you've got to learn and understand that the journey that everybody is taking is going to be, again, very similar. The story itself may be different, but you need to have something you're working towards. You need to have something that's way bigger than money. You need to have something that's way deeper and more sentimental to you that's going to drive you every single day. We hear excuses all the time, but that's why I say most people make those excuses. I know for me, I don't want to be most people. And that, right, I'll tell you that's one of my missions. I don't want to be most people because every single time I sit back and I go to myself, because we all do, we're human, right? I don't know. Or maybe, you know, I got a little bit of self-doubt. All of a sudden you're like, yo, that's what most people would do. And it's like, it's that flip. All right, I don't want to be like that. All right, what do I got to do? And then people ask you, well, how'd you do that? Or how'd you get there? It's like, I just fucking did it. Oh, it seems so easy. No, it wasn't fucking easy. It's hard. There's a lot of stress and a lot of emotion that comes with it. The reality is, though, when you go up and you actually do something, you actually do it, you're pointed towards something. That's why, again, we come back to that daily goal tracking. That's my motivator. Because you labeled it date night, working out. I've got all that stuff on my goal tracker. When every time I ask people, what's your goal? And again, you said this, you know, I want to make X amount of dollars. No, fuck that. What is your actual goal? Why do you want to make the money? For what?
Let me help the audience out here. Okay, guys, here's what all of you, okay, there may be a couple of you, but 99.9% of you that are going to listen to this now or in the future, the number that you have in your head as a goal, whether it's $1 million, 10 million, 100 million, whatever, that number is no different than you walking into the quick stop today and filling out random numbers on a lotto fucking sheet. You think that number is the number. So just like when you sign the lotto and you pick the numbers on, you're like, those are the numbers, right? It's the same process. You didn't actually dial in. What you need to do is figure out what your perfect life is and what it costs to live that. Because you might think that you're failing, not making $1 million a year, but you might be able to live your best life at 500,000 and you don't need $1 million. What I mean by that is take your list, write it down. What kind of house you want to live in? How much does that cost a year to live in? What kind of car you want to drive? How much does that cost a year? What kind of vacations you want to take? What kind of food you want to eat? You want a nanny? Do you want a business? Blah, blah, blah. Like not what you need to make, what you want in your life and the cost associated with it. You add all that up, you might find out for $50,000 a month, you're living like a king. And that's, you know, $600,000 a year. That's a far cry from $1 million. You might be feeling like you're a failure because you haven't figured out what makes you happy. And so you're working for this monetary number that you just rectally extracted like a lottery number. And you don't even know like why that number would affect you. But if you start to put meaning behind it, hey, if I make this much money, these are the things that can truly make my life happy and accomplish all the stuff. Like I'm out here chasing money and I should be chasing the result of this happiness of these things that I wrote on here.
When you wrap up your day, day's over, kids are sleeping, you're about to lay your head down. How do you know it's been a successful day for you?
Great question. And it's real simple. Two parts. Did I got all my stuff logged in for my G code? And did I do my best to help everybody that came into my realm today? That's really the definition of whether I failed or not. You know, we're in a position where we're fortunate. We have companies with recurring income. So, you know, like I said, there's never enough money because we can always scale and build, but we're fortunate. You know, I don't have a lot of debt. I don't have a lot of bills, and we make a decent good amount of money. And so, you know, it's not a how much money did we make, and money is important. We got to measure that for, you know, all that stuff. But it's, did we impact people? And when I'm in sales meeting with my guys, I'm not like, hey, close everybody on every call. It's like, hey, are we impacting people? Because, you know, it's also a pipeline. If someone's life gets better today, they may buy from us in 2 years. And hell, even if they don't, they may make 10 other people's lives better. And we're having that ripple effect that we don't even know about that way, you know? So at the end of the day, for me, hey, I got my stuff logged in. I'm on track for the G code, and I played all in with everybody that I could today.
I love that answer, man. I you know, we've been asking that question as we, you know, basically finish off the show. Each show we do every single week, and I ask my guests that same question. You know, how do you know it's been a successful day for you? And I got to tell you, even though you did bring up the word money, but you used it in a sense of like, it ain't the driving force. It's not the reason that we're successful. You use the word help. And that's something that, again, I want to reiterate and echo to everybody tuned in right now, is it continues to be that common theme. Anybody who you've, and again, you know, we bring the best of the best, and Ryan's one of them as guests on this show. You know, the word help is something that most of the successful people that have reached that level of success, however you define success, will always use that word, helping others. Right. And that's something we all got to take away, because, again, when we look at what we do, and I challenge every single one of you right now tuned in, think about what you do for a living. Think about what you do as a person. Think about how you're impacting other people. Are you helping others? If you're looking to grow, if you're looking to be more successful, it's not about the money. You help others, everything else follows, including the money. Okay. But you got to figure out how to help others. And Ryan, again, you just echoed that beautifully, man. So,
you know,
yeah.
Here's why you and I are alike. And here's why a lot of your successful guests say the same thing. Success leaves clues. It's a template. Hey, you know, so many people go, oh, that won't work for me, but it's working for somebody else. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, you can't be about help. You got to get money. But if you help, you can get money. Like, so many people, they discredit that. But there's all of us saying the same, and it's all biblical principles, if we're just all being honest, right? But we're all saved since the Bible, since Think and Grow Rich, How to Win Friends, 10X, whatever, me, you. Like, we're all saying this is what it takes: mental discipline, personal excellence, focus, an attitude that you want to be great in life, you know, driving force, action. Like, we're all saying the same thing, but some people, they hear it their whole life and they just don't hear it the right way for them. But then sometimes, if we're lucky, and I think this is the true thing that separates all of us successful people from everybody else, sometimes if we're lucky, we hear the exact perfect combination of words, even though that phrase may have been said a million times to us, but sometimes they just substitute the right word at the right time. And that combo unlocks that lock, man. It's bing. Oh, this is the key that I need to do. We see it get unlocked. People all the time, they're fat their whole life. And one time somebody says something to them, next thing you know, they're in the gym. A year later, they're down 100 pounds. Somebody's a bum and a drug addict their whole life, alcoholic. The next thing you know, somebody says the right thing at an AA meeting or in a certain place, and boom, they're sober and never touch the stuff again the rest of their life. That's what we should all be searching for if we're not successful yet. The right combination of words that unlock that closed mind of ours.
100%, man. It's growth, dude. If I go back, way back in time for me, even in, you know, my younger years, none of this shit of helping others and, you know, tracking goals. And as you brought up vision board at one point, gratitude, which I practice daily, none of that stuff was even a thought. Hell, when the guy at the front of the stage was telling me to do that, I'd be like, fuck, can we hurry up over here? I just want to know how to make more money.
Yeah.
And then at some point it clicks and you realize, holy shit, I had this thing backwards.
Yep.
Right. And then you realize it and it starts to snowball. And then, of course, that snowball melts every once in a while. And you got to build it back up. But that's resilience. That's where success truly comes from, right?
You know, a business is like a snake. The snake sheds its skin so that the next level of skin's better than the skin that it sheds. Sometimes you got to get some skin to get better in business too, you know?
Dude, no holds bars. Close us off with something, you know, just to wrap up today. What would you say to everybody, just as some parting words here? We're again, top of the year, 2025 is ahead of everybody. What can they do to go out there and just kick some ass and crush it, man?
Well, if you look at it, to the people listening, if you look at your history, And in your history of your life, you're not where you want to be, but you've used the words goal and New Year's resolution over and over again, only to be maybe a victim of Quitter's Day or later in the year, or just not make it happen. Let's stop using those words. Create a mission for your life. Really think about that over the next days, weeks, however long it takes to come to you. And here's what's going to happen. God's going to give you a mission because you're searching for it. And the devil's going to try to convince you that that's not the mission that you need or the mission that you're capable of. If you'd have told me 15 years ago I was capable of leading 2 million people a month to having a better life, becoming a greater version of themselves, I was a fucking drug dealer. Do you think I would have ever believed? When I was in prison, do you think I would have ever believed? And when God told me in 2010, I took your license so that you can go teach people how to be successful, I felt so far from fucking successful, it was unreal. But I just believed and had faith. And I have changed the course history for my last name because I had faith in God's plan for me. Then it became my mission. And so whatever you're probably spent your whole life denying that you can't do and thinking it's impossible, as soon as you embrace that thing, your life's going to change because that's what you were created for. So go find you a mission.
Powerful, brother. Very powerful. I just threw it up here on the screen for everybody tuned in. Follow Ryan, check him out. Hardcore Closer. Ryan, is there anywhere that you want to direct anybody to just learn anything else or pick up anything else from you, man?
Yeah, if you guys want to use the G-Code app, it's free, right? You go to dailygcode.com, follow the instructions. You can get that. You can track your 4 points every day and track yourself 1% to greatness. Absolutely free. It's my gift to the world. I pay for it every month. We have 20,000-30,000 people that use it. And we have a leaderboard on there. So get in and try to win with your streaks and try to win with your points and just gamify your life at getting better.
Did we get that right here? dailygcode.com.
That's it.
All right, cool. Wicked one, man. This has been, this has been powerful. It's been insightful. It's been helpful. It's been motivational. I mean, it's been all of the above, man. I had no doubt this episode would be fire for the top of the year. So I am super grateful I know you're a super busy guy. You got a lot going on, and I can't thank you enough for taking the time to join us on the MindShare podcast today.
Yeah, no problem, man. This is an example. I get to help,
Well, we appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you, brother. We'll talk to you shortly. You've been listening to this MindShare podcast, whether it's on one of your favorite podcast platforms or directly from my website at mindshare101.com. We thank you. And while you're there, explore how our full range of services from one-to-one coaching, the MindShare collective group coaching, momentum training, and keynote speaking will take your business to the next level. And don't forget to download your free copy of the Ultimate Marketing Bundle so you can build more MindShare to earn more market share, as well as learn more about joining the revolution. For any inquiries, just get in touch with us today. If you did enjoy the show, be sure to leave a review at www.ratethispodcast.com/MindShare101. If we haven't yet, let's connect on Facebook and TikTok at MindShare101 and on Instagram at David Greenspan 101. I want to thank Kits Keep in Touch Systems, REM Magazine, and REVEL Realty for their continued support of this show. This has been another episode of the MindShare podcast. Thank you for tuning in.